Maven Nation. Welcome to another episode of Success with Saneness. I am your host, Maven Miara, and I am absolutely excited to share information about my guest that's going to be on with me today. Here we are in February, the love month, as a lot of us like to call it. And before you go too far with love month, we're not going to just be talking about married relationships or single relationships. We're going to be talking about relationships in general. So stay tuned. I'm sure there's something you'll be able to grab from this. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow me on this channel as well. So Lanice Thrasher, aka the Love Cheerleader, is an author, speaker, and heartbreak coach. I love that. She is known for teaching professional women how to heal past heartbreak so they can regain their confidence and increase their productivity. Come on, work. She teaches that heartbreak is not just romantic in her priority framework, the pause challenge, to transform women from defeated and broken to powerful and confident. I love that introduction. So welcome to the show, Miss Lanice, the Love Cheerleader. So as you join us, tell us a little bit more about yourself, just so the audience can get acquainted with you.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Lanice, aka the Love Cheerleader, and I'm actually a certified professional life coach. So what I do is I help you navigate through a heartbreak and any major shifts that you have in life. And as we all know, the first thing that is hit when you have a broken heart is actually your confidence. Your confidence goes from 100 all the way down to a complete -5. It just goes completely flatline. You're not nothing is working. Your confidence just goes out the window. And so as a coach, I actually walk you through how to pick up those pieces and become confidently her. And when I say confidently her, it's one that when you look in the mirror, you're like, I like who I see. And so I walk I through that because it's so important. And a lot of people just don't know what to do. And I really am passionate about women learning what to do because I went through a divorce and everyone was just like, you'll be fine. I'm like, and what, really? What does that mean? I'm a little confused. What does that mean? What do I do? And so once I healed, I knew I had a responsibility to help heal other women. And so that's what I do. And that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Listen, I love it. And I like that, when life presents us things that, we clearly didn't write in the journal, put down on the script, that's life. Life happens. That you took steps to figure out your next steps and then have now put that together to reach to the side and also help other women who are going through relationship challenges. Okay, so might not necessarily be all the way to a divorce, but listen, relationships with friends, relationship with business partners, relationships with clients, my goodness, relationships comes in all forms. And so with that, tell me, I know you got your divorce, but what led you from, okay, I'm going through this divorce, and then you're asking for help from people that you trusted, and they're like, okay, you're going to be okay. What propelled you to say, okay, I really need to figure this out? And tell us about this pause challenge and what I'm assuming you created this pause challenge from you trying to figure out your steps. So what does that mean? What does it look like?
So really for me, I found myself going through a depression, and I am all things love, all things sunshine, as bright as this sweater, as bright as my hair. That's me on a regular day. I'm always life is great. But when I was going through a divorce, I was depressed and I had no idea that I was depressed. And so I went from always wanting to be at family functions to all of a sudden I'm laying in the bed and my mom is like, are you coming? You gonna really sit in the bed all day? You don't want to come? And so I really had to realize, you just can't sit here anymore. You have to get up. And honestly, I was laying in the bed and God was like, get up. And I was like, okay. So I got up and, okay. So I got up and and I've always been into exercise. But in that moment, I knew how much I really needed it to really push me through where I was. And so that's really what started it. I had a therapist at the time and my therapist was just like, you'll be okay. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And so
She's like, people keep saying that.
Yes. I was like, okay, like you're like the fifth person that said this. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Okay.
And everybody just kept saying, find yourself and do this. And I'm like, I need a little bit more. And so that's when I realized you're going to have to create it, because everyone is just telling you little bits and pieces, but you need a plan.
Right.
Like you need a roadmap. You need something that you can pick up and say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so I just started creating it. And I didn't know I was creating anything that I was going to share with people. But then people started seeing like, hey, you're healed, you're glowing, like you're doing so well. And I was like, yeah, I created this process. And they were like, can you teach me? I'm like, sure. So I just started teaching people. And then God said, I want you to do this for everybody. And I was like, oh, me? Are you sure? Are you positive?
Right.
Because I wasn't expecting that. And so so that's kind of what led me to creating everything to actually help people through it. And so you mentioned my proprietary process, which is called the pause challenge. And so what I realized is, how often do you take time to actually pause? You don't. Majority of the time, you just take time and you're just go, 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 go. You add this distraction, that distraction, and you're not taking the time to actually pause and sit back and say like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, how do I feel? Like, what is really going on? We just add like new things all the time. And so I really knew that people needed to pause. And so I'm challenging people to pause so that they can get to their end goal, which is to be happy and healed, versus where they started, which was broken and feeling really depressed and defeated.
Yeah, I love that. I've gone through, I went through a divorce myself. I've been married now for, my goodness, next month will be this month. Yes, Jesus, this month, 21 years. My gosh.
Yes.
But I remember when I went through my divorce as well, that I remember being depressed. I remember coming home from work, and I had two small kids at the time, and just getting in bed. Let them come home and play and homework and whatever they need. And I would do that until it was time for me to, feed my children. I had to feed them until it was time that I had to get out of bed to make dinner, get them prepared for bed. And I remember that phase where you're talking about everyone's like, oh, you're going to be okay. Okay, well, that's cute. But what step do I take in? I think oftentimes for people in those type of moments, be it again, a romantic relationship, a business relationship, whatever it is, because your heart is hurt, right? Your heart is wounded. It's like we forget the things that we really do know. We really do know them, but because you're in this fog, you're like, I don't know. Now I'm confused. I don't know what step I need to take. So what is that first, if someone is watching or listening to this episode and they are fresh into a heartbreak of whatever form of a relationship, what is that first thing you want them to think about? But before they have to figure out any of the other stuff, what's that first thing?
I really tell people the very first thing that you need to do is stop communicating with that person. When you're fresh into a breakup, a lot of times the person is reaching out to you, you're reaching out to them, and you're just not able to heal that way. I tell my clients all the time, you can't heal where you got hurt. It's just impossible. Yeah. Like you just can't heal if somebody is continuously trying to talk to you, continuously saying this, continuously saying that. Like there's just no way that you can actually heal. So that's the first thing that I tell people is stop communicating. But that looks like stop responding not only to phone calls, but to text messages and to DMs on different social media platforms, because, those are hard things to just always talk to someone all the time. And now you're not talking at all. It's really a challenge. And so that's the first thing. And that's what I find a lot of people have a hard time with, because they're like, but you don't understand. I've talked to them for so long. And I'm like, I do understand, but that's not helping you to get to the other side. So that's the very first
Would
thing.
you offer that same advice to, let's say a couple that's been married and they have children? So now you have these children that you still need to handle them, right? Be it shared custody or visitation or whatever needs to happen. What is your advice to folks that have children together and they're having to figure out custody situations and things like that, where time would not allow for you just to basically have no communication with the person.
Right. No, and that is a very tricky thing, right? Because you're like, I don't want to talk to you, but I have to talk to you, but you're getting on my nerves. It's a lot going on.
Right.
So I tell people only talk about what's actually important to that situation. So if it's the kids, only talk about the kids. If it's, hey, we have a house together and we're trying to figure out and split things down the middle, only talk about that. But when conversations come up about you didn't do this and you didn't do that, like, that's not going to help you. So you're going to have to focus on like what's really important right now and only talk about those things. So leave all the other stuff out of it. Just talk about what's important and don't bring extra feelings involved. Just try to be very neutral and only talk about what you're there to talk about. Anything else will just cause more confusion, cause more frustration. And I don't want my clients to be, leaving a situation now, their heart's beating out their chest because they're so angry because they allowed someone to take them to a place that they really didn't want to be. And so that's one of the major things I tell people.
How do you find that women especially are able to give themselves, I'm going to use the word grace, in those situations? Because I think, again, no matter what the relationship category, when there's a big failure of sorts, be it a divorce or, a business you had to detangle because you and the business partner no longer get along or whatever it is, that oftentimes I think we blame ourselves first. We want to come down hard on ourselves and try to carry burdens that are not ours. Now, obviously, both people are complicit 99.9% of the time in whatever the situation is, right? But how do you help women with that, giving grace to yourself, although you contributed to some of the error that happened? How do you give yourself grace through, especially that initial season where, maybe the tears are still flowing and maybe you are filled to the tip top of your head with anger? All of those things. How do you give grace to yourself in those moments?
Thing is, we're always going to feel like we're a failure, right? Like that's literally the first thing that we say. That's the first thing that I said, even through all of my tears. I'm like, but I'm a failure. Like I was so like overcome with that emotion of I'm failing not only myself, I'm failing my parents, I'm failing my family, I'm failing my friends. Like that's just how I felt. And even though, a relationship is two people, right? So I had some ownership into what went, to what happened just as much as my ex-husband did, right? But I had to really sit back and be accountable for my actions and say, okay, this is what you contributed, and then figure out what did I learn from it. So then that helped me not hold on that burden of I'm such a failure, because I didn't fail. And that was one thing that it took me a very long time to understand because nobody could really help me. And so really it was me talking to my parents, and they were like, you didn't fail. Like you did not fail there. It just did not work. And that's okay.
Right.
And so I really had to, that was another layer of me really learning, like, I'm not a failure. Let's take accountability. But let's always remind yourself you're not a failure. And to give myself grace. And so once I learned to be accountable for my actions and then give myself grace, then I was able to say, I'm not a failure, and then move on to the next step so that I could actually continue down that healing journey. So that's the best thing I tell people is just accountability and just saying, okay, I'm not a failure, and keep repeating that because, people will constantly say things to you. You may go out in public and somebody may not even know the story. And then they may tell you things. And then you're getting in your car driving away like, I'm such a failure. But if you constantly have in your head, like, I'm not a failure, like, yeah, it just didn't work. Right. And now you know how to answer that question when people ask you, because there's going to be so many people who are going to say things to just trip you up. They're going to say things to see if I say this, is she going to get mad? And they really want that. And you don't know who those people are. They could be close people to you. They could be just somebody in the grocery store who just saw y'all together all the time. And now they're asking. So you just really have to know how to respond. And I really work with my clients to know how to respond. But I do a lot of role playing so that you know how to respond when you get in those situations. Because a lot of times you just get hit with it and you're like, I don't know what to do. So I do a lot of role playing to really walk them through that. So if they are surprised because they didn't expect to see someone in Target, they know how to answer the question.
I love that. And I love the part on separating the accountability of, whatever happened from being a failure. Okay. Two different things. And as I say, the journey is going to present some things that we did not write down. We did not script that out. We would have used our big eraser and erased that, from the journey. But understanding, I really like that point of keeping it clear that, yes, I'm being accountable to the mistakes that I made, but I myself am not a failure. Might have a failed relationship or a failed connection in front of me, but I am not a failure. Tell me on this, it's so interesting how, in my friends right now that are single, or everybody's crazy. And I'm like, how is, where, I said, for those of y'all that are single, right? How are y'all not able to find each other? Y'all are only finding the other crazy people, right?
Right.
Do you help clients with online dating, in-person dating, like what, and of course you hear the horror stories, right? Of all of these things. But I mean, I know people that are married today that met online and, are living normal, married, peak and valley relationships,
I do too.
Peak and valley relationships. What advice do you share or support you give clients that maybe they've been, let's say, divorced for a while, and their friends are encouraging them, maybe their children, family members are saying, you should get back out there. You should find someone to not necessarily go run merry, but to go to the movies with, to travel with, whatever that looks like. How do you encourage, clients that are still like, oh, no, I'm done with that for life. It's like, you have to be done with it for life. What's some of those steps, and just how are you getting people to look at that relationships in a different way?
So the first thing that I work with them on is, before we can even get to dating, I'm like, let's continue the healing process to make sure that you're really healed. Because a lot of times they want to like jump out there and start dating. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Like, there's still some things you got to work on.
You're like, back it up.
Come on back. So I really, really work with them to make sure that they are completely healed before they actually start out dating. But some of the things that I incorporate in the program that I have is I walk them through like getting to know themselves again. And that may just be something as simple as, because a lot of times you don't know who you are. Like, you've been with someone for so long and you've done things with them or did things that they liked. And then you're like, but what do you like? Like, did you like going to the movies to see scary movies, or did you only go because they like scary movies? And so I work with them to really figure out, like, what is it that you like? Like, let's figure out what you like again. And so I'm always giving them little challenges to just say, okay, let's try this, let's try that. And we'll go through like Groupons together. And I'm like, okay, let's look for a Groupon that you can try something new. You never know what you may find on Groupon, or just, in like just a regular, like, on Facebook, like, event. You never know what you may find. So I'm always challenging people. Let's find some new events and let's find some things that you might like. You might say, I like creating candles. You never knew you liked creating that. And so I really encourage them to do that. And then once they're like, okay, I think I got it, I know the things that I like, then I'm like, okay, let's jump out and do online dating, which is a little bit easier for people. And of course, I get hit with resistance. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't like it. People are weird. They're crazy. And I'm like, I know, but I know a lot of successful couples who met online in the most random places, and they are happily married. And I have some that are getting married. And so I know it works. So I'm always encouraging them to, like, let's try, because you can't say it doesn't work if you don't try. So let's at least try to at least see what happens. And then also putting yourself in a position, if you're not really into online dating, put yourself in a position so when you go outside, you can meet people. The hardest thing I'll say for someone who is single is, if you go to events where it's a bunch of married people, you're not going to meet anybody. Like, the married people are married. Like, if you want to meet somebody single, you kind of got to go to some single events.
Very true.
So I really encourage people to find those single events. There's a lot of like speed dating that's popping up now that are like really getting some great turnout. And so I'm always encouraging people to just find something new. You really never know. And if you find that you like making candles, go make candles one day. You might meet somebody else who's there also making candles by themselves.
Right.
So you might make a new friend. So that's really what I encourage people to do is first let's heal, then let's figure out who you are, and then let's actually go and implement everything.
What are a couple of things you share with clients about dating safely in the online space, and heck, for sure, the in-person dating? What are a couple of things, women and men, but my audience is definitely predominantly women, some ways they can be safe to date online and in person?
Okay, so the very first one that I tell people is do not give out your real phone number, because people have all types of ways to find you, and they'll end up showing up at your door and you're like, oh my gosh, everyone is crazy now. So don't give out your real number. Actually, what I would tell people to do is get a Google number. So
I was going to say, what's the solution for them?
Yeah. It's free. You can get a Google number. Yes. You can just go to Google Voice and you get a Google number. And the thing that I like about Google is you can literally be at your computer and type a message back to someone and no one even knows that you're typing a message back. They get it as a text message. So that's one thing I like. You can also send pictures. So if, they want to make sure you're a real person, you can send them a picture from your phone and from your computer, and it still operates the same way. And so that's the first thing I tell people is absolutely be safe and get a Google number. Mm-hmm. Because, and the other
ladies,
thing about it,
you hear that? Don't give out your real number. Don't do it.
Don't do it. And because you just never know who you're going to meet.
Absolutely.
And you never know,
this is true.
And the thing I like about Google numbers I have found is you can block people very easily in Google. So if they start sending you things that's inappropriate, or you just feel like this conversation is not working, or whatever happens, they start acting really weird, you can block them and you'll never hear from them again. Yeah. And they don't have your real phone number. So it's a win-win for you on that. So that's and you can always go in and let's say you're like, I want to change my number, whatever the case may be, you can change your number, I think one time free. So it's a win-win for everybody on that one.
Yeah. And there's a couple of other platforms as well that will give you a free digital number. So that works well. I like that idea because, our phone numbers can be tied to so many personal things about us. And, you get somebody that's a bit stalkerish and they go on their private investigator journey, and you just don't want that especially to wind up back at your personal resident. No. So that's one. Don't use your real phone number. Don't give your real phone number out. What's another one?
Another way to be safe, if you're meeting someone out, like let's say you're going to a restaurant, I always tell people park where there's some light. So don't park and there's like a wooded area, a dark area, don't park there. Just park where there's some light so that you can see, always make sure you can see an exit. And so sometimes we forget that. We just there's a parking spot and we just try to hurry up. But take that extra step and say, are there lights right here? I want to make sure that I'm being safe at all times. And so just always, keep that in mind. And then also keep in mind the time of day that you're going. Because again, it's February, right? It's February and it's dark. It's dark early. Gets dark early. So make sure you're not saying 8:00 in February and 8:00 in December are two different times. Right. The light is out, the light is not out. And so you just want to make sure that you're always going at a time where you're safe, because a lot of times, people may get an invitation to go somewhere and it's late, and be okay with saying it's too late for me. That's just not the time of day that I go out. I think
do what's comfortable.
Right. You got to do what's comfortable. And a lot of times women are like, oh, I'll go whenever. And it's no, be safe about it. Be smart about it. So many things are happening to women. And I just always encourage people to be safe. Meet people in an open space, don't meet them in an area where it's just that building. Make sure there's other buildings around. So when you come out of the space, you feel comfortable and you're not it's just me and you.
There's some other humans around.
There's some other humans around. Make sure you know these things. So when you're telling somebody hey, let's go out to eat at Ruby Tuesday. I'm just making up something.
Right.
Let's go out to Ruby Tuesday. Make sure Ruby Tuesday got some other places next door or in the general area. So you're not just like, oh, it's just Ruby Tuesday, just us. Like, just so you feel comfortable and safe. So that's the major things that I tell people.
Something that my single girlfriends that go out, they will always send a text of where they're going and what time they're going. And I'm like, text me when you get home. It's kind of having that community that's making sure you're safe as well, checking in, I'm meeting this person at this time at this location and, okay, I've made it back home safely, whatever it looks like. Because again, I just think the more you just can't be too safe. I think in today's environment, you can't be too safe. And that goes for the men as well, because obviously, men are not the only ones that can go a little bit off the range on what is appropriate, especially safety wise. So men, look, y'all be careful too out there. Use these same safety strategies because you want to get back out in the world and relationships or business connections or whatever the relationship vertical you're trying to rekindle. But, we don't want you. No one wants you to put your life on the line to do it.
No,
not at all. And be safe. And, I love the fact that my closer girlfriends that are single send a text. This is where I'm going. This is what time. And I'm like, do you have a picture of this person? Send the picture. Yeah. Because again, God forbid something goes awry. When I call the police, I want to be able to give all the facts, first name, last name, all of the things. And of course, we, definitely don't want any of those to happen. But here's the thing. Having the information and not needing it is better than needing the information and not having it. And all you can tell the police is, I don't know, my girlfriend said she was going to Papados at 5 o'clock. I haven't heard from her since then. Like, what kind of friend am I? Like, what,
Yeah, you are no help at that point. They're like, well,
exactly.
They're like, you're not helping me. So yeah, that's the last thing I would say. And I agree with you 110%. I tell my friends the same thing. Like, where are you going? What time are you going? Can you please text me when you get there? Text me an address. Send me a license plate if you need to. Like, send me something. And I also share I tell them, share your location with me so I can just see and track and make sure you get home. Yeah, make sure you get home okay. Because a lot of times people say, I'm here, but you're really not there. And I'm like, where you at? Like, what you doing today? So I always tell people, share your location.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that for the dating friends. We have a blended family of 4 young adults, and they will frequently share their locations if they're traveling or driving somewhere else in Texas or, whatever it is. Just so that then I don't have to call you and be like, did you make it where you said you were going? Because then I have a salty tone. Listen, just let me know you made it safely with that. So tell me, do you have any, I know you obviously coach and work with people virtually. Do you do, because you're in Atlanta, right?
Yep, I'm in Atlanta.
Do you do any live events? You have anything coming up that folks can go to your website and check out and be like, you know what, I need this. I need the courage, the help, the support to get back out into the world.
So I'm actually working on my entire calendar right now. I did a lot of stuff last year. I spoke at 4 different events last year. And so this year I am working on that calendar. I have a couple things in the works, but I'm working, just to make sure it's final first before I actually start communicating it. But I'm definitely working on more events for this year. I have some books that I'm working on right now that'll be coming out really soon. And I'm so excited.
Oh, busy year ahead. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be a really busy year. So last year was busy. So I had to kind of slow down the beginning of this year to just say, okay, what did you do in 2022? What do you really want to do in 2023? So I definitely have some books. I'm like finishing them up. I'm super excited because I know it's really going to help some people. So those are the major things that your audience can know is coming very, very soon. So just stay tuned to my website and keep in touch with me on social media because that's where I'll be dropping all of the information first.
Excellent. And you guys definitely follow her on Instagram. After she and I got connected through my project manager, I immediately started following her on Instagram. Just love your videos and your reels and all of the fun things that you're doing over there. So as we begin to wrap up, I'm going to ask you to give us 3, I call them BAM tips. BAM in my community stands for bust a move. So 3 BAM strategies, to help listeners move past heartbreak, take that time to get to know themselves and heal, and then to bravely get back out there in the world. What are just 3 things they can do that even if they're not ready yet, they're still maybe in the healing part of their journey, that they can still work on as they get ready to kind of bravely get back out into the world?
Okay. So the 3 things that I would say is, number 1, accept that the pain actually happened. A lot of times we avoid the pain and we're like, oh, it didn't happen. And you operate as if it didn't really happen. But in reality, you're really, really hurting. So I really encourage everyone to accept that the pain actually did happen. So that's the first one. The second one is stop communicating with people who make you feel less than. So if you have some friends or some family that's always making, like, you go to spend time with them and you feel worse when you leave, stop communicating with them. Like, that's really not what you need right now. You really need healthy people around you. So definitely stop communicating with those people. And the very last one that I would say is change the words that you use about yourself. Oftentimes we speak so negatively about ourselves that it makes us stop in our tracks and we don't even move forward. So I'm always going to leave with people to change those words that you say about yourself, because if you want a new relationship, you can't get it because you're saying all these negative things about yourself, and your mind doesn't know the difference between I'm just having a bad moment. Your mind just hears all these negative things, and that's how your brain, that's how you're going to operate. And so you have to change those words. If you want to do anything to help you get to the other side, you have to do that. So those are the 3 things that I would leave with you.
I love it. And, you using that language, right, to free yourself, to, all men are bad or all women are bad, right? If that's the language you're using, I tell often my business clients and connections that we get back the energy we put out. So if that is what you're putting out, that all men are dogs and all women are crazy and all of the alls statements, right? Then that's what is going to be drawn to you. And if you can, first, I often say, if we can change our mind, just as giving, a woman giving birth to a baby, the head leads, the head goes first.
Right.
And if we can get our minds changed, our hearts can change, our language will change. And whether you get into another romantic relationship, business relationship, whatever it is, years from now, as long as you are in your current space, healthy, whole, and thriving, then you're doing the work that you're supposed to be doing in that moment at that time.
Absolutely. 110% agree with you on that.
I love it. I love it. So before we end, I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions. I never tell the guests that I'm going to do this, because then they'll be like, oh, what's she going to ask? All simple, very easy stuff. No pressure. So we're going to go through these. You just give me the first answer, that I'm going to get. It's pretty much multiple choice that I'll give you. So if I were to say, do you want meat, seafood, or veggies? What's your choice?
Can I have 2, or is it just 1?
It's just 1.
Okay. Seafood.
Okay. Peanut butter and jelly or grilled cheese?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Grilled cheese.
Okay. Zip lines or lounging at the pool?
Lounging at the pool.
Okay. Reading a book or audiobook?
Ooh, that's hard because I like both. I'll say reading a book.
Okay. Nap or no nap?
Nap. Give me all the naps. Don't skip a nap.
I love that. Every guest so far is like, no, give me the naps. Bring the naps on.
All of them.
Digital planner or paper planner?
Paper planner.
paper planner, Biggie
Yes.
or Tupac?
Oh, that is a hard one. Oh, I'm gonna go with Tupac.
Okay. Are you a techie or old school?
Techie.
Okay. Heels or flats?
Ooh, I'm gonna say heels, but I always keep flats in my purse because you never know.
Listen,
but heels
high
first.
five. My
Yes.
best friend laughs at me. I do not leave my house in heels without having some flats in a bag. It's just,
Me
that
neither.
doesn't go together. You have to have the flats. Yes.
You have to.
And here is the last one. Ice cream or cookies?
Oh, ice cream or cookies? Oh, that's hard because I like both of them. Cookies. We'll go with cookies.
Okay, we'll go with cookies. Well,
Yes.
that's it. Those are your rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Look, all of those were tough for you. She's like, no, I like
They
all
were.
of these things.
I'm like, all
don't
of the
make me
things.
pick.
All of them. Oh, it was so hard. I'm like, do I have to really pick one? But I
love
loved
that.
it.
I love
Thank you.
that. Excellent. Thank you guys for listening. We'll definitely drop the Love Cheerleaders, all her links, also her website. You guys can stay connected with her there to keep your eyes peeled for her books and workshops, virtual events, all of the things that she's going to be sharing this year. So I am absolutely honored to share my time with you. And I am grateful that you take time to take this content in. And until next time, Maven, keep doing your BAM thing. Talk with you soon.